Positive Anime Reviews is a review show that is designed for people who aren't very picky about their anime, like me. Most anime I watch ends up in my 5 out of 5 category. My reviews are for those people who are looking for a reason to watch anime rather than hate on it. I am willing to give any and all anime a chance before stating my opinion. Lastly, my reviews are all my opinion and might and or most likely won't match yours. If you don't agree, that's totally fine, just be respectful in the comment section, thank you. And as always, there is a spoiler section ahead, but don't worry, I'll warn you first. Hey guys, Darth Glork here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. So, the first thing you might be thinking is, really? This is probably really shallow. Why are you reviewing this anime? Clearly, you have ecchi issues, my dude. Well, relax. This anime is far more than it appears. So, obviously, we will get into it in this review, but don't worry. It's more than it seems, I promise. Anyway, so, I swore there was something I was going to say, but I swore there was something I was going to say, but whatever. Anyway, so of course, like I said, this is the anime we are reviewing, and of course the Japanese name will be in the description, but I don't want to try to pronounce it and embarrass myself, so I will say the English name. But despite this anime's interesting name, stick around, because it is more than it appears. So, this anime aired in the fall 2018 season. Now, today we will be covering the first season, which is the only season out, and then there is a movie sequel. And then we will touch on the movie sequel, but the name is only slightly different, and because of how long the title is, I probably will just put parentheses plus the movie or something. And so we will be covering the movie as well. And the movie name, which I guess I should actually just give to you, the movie name is Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl. So, very similar, but, different story and everything. So, anyway, like I said, fall 2018 season for the original anime. This is an adaptation from a light novel, and so that's actually something I should definitely read. But anyway, so as usual, we will be starting off with the synopsis, the fastest way to sum up any anime. So let's hop into it. The rare and inexplicable puberty syndrome is thought of as a myth. It is a rare disease which only affects teenagers, and its symptoms are so supernatural that hardly anyone recognizes it as a legitimate occurrence. However, high school students Sakuta Azugawa, man, that's hard to say out loud with my stutter, knows from personal experience that it is very much real. Basically, Sakuta knows from personal experience that it is very much real and happens to be quite prevalent in his school. Mai Sakurajima is a third-year high school student who gained fame in her youth as a child actress, but recently halted her promising career for reasons unknown to the public. With an air of unapproachability, she is well known throughout the school, but none dare interact with her. That is, until Sakuta sees her wandering the library in a bunny girl costume. Despite the getup, no one seems to notice her, and after confronting her, he realizes that she is another victim of puberty syndrome. As Sakuta tries to help Mai through her predicament, his actions bring him into contact with more girls afflicted with the elusive disease. So, hopefully that alone, just the synopsis, is going to make you be like, okay, I gotta check this out. And I can only assume, because of this anime's popularity, that I found some good art for you guys to look at. And based upon the art, again, hopefully you're intrigued. But, of course, we will see. Anyway, so moving on to rating, which is how clean or dirty is the anime. Pretty clean, honestly. This anime is, I'd give it a PG-13, mostly just because there's lots of mature themes that I think that you'll pick up on, that'll be way more important to you if you are it'll be far more important to you if you are older, if you're old enough to understand it and really keep up with the themes and everything else. But anyway, but otherwise it's very clean. They weren't there wasn't really any language, there wasn't any nudity, it was very clean. It's just with the mature themes and kind of some of the heavier drama stuff that I feel like you should be older to be able to really appreciate it. So similar anime. Now, this anime in some ways it's similar, and hopefully I'll be able to explain why I think this. But as far as similar anime goes, I would probably compare this to Kokoro Connect. Now, for those of you that have watched my review on it, or you already know what the anime is without watching my review, that anime will probably be kind of a head turner. So Kokoro Connect, for those of you that don't know, is it's like my standard. So it was the first anime that I saw that was really well animated and really, like, it was really pretty to look at while still being, like, lots of really mature themes. And from what I've noticed, it seems to me that there is a lot of, like, if an anime is targeted towards an older audience and it has mature themes and it feels very older, it tends to sacrifice how pretty it is. So it kind of has like a dull color palette, and it's kind of, I mean, I don't know. And so then when an anime seems to be targeted at a younger audience, it's much prettier to look at, but now there's no depth to it at all. So when you get both, where you simultaneously you get the older themes and the beautiful animation, and it still feels really gorgeous and everything else, for me it's a pretty rare occurrence. So the first time I saw that was in Kokoro Connect. So ever since then, whenever anything I see is similar to that, where it's mature themes but it's still really pretty and everything, I often call it the Kokoro Connect syndrome. So this anime reminds me of that, and the way that it covers some heavy things, and there's a lot of like heavier, like mature mystery to it, and it's fun. You're like figuring out that this disease throughout, figuring out how it works and who's affected and how to treat it, and there's all this like there's romance, and there's all this plot going on. It's very exciting to be able to look at it and have it be really pretty to look at. So anyway, so that's what I would compare it to. So genre, what type of genre is it? It is, the site labels it comedy, romance, school, and supernatural. That's probably fine. Don't let the comedy tag fool you. It's not like slapstick stupid comedy like comedy anime generally is. This is not a comedy anime. It's lighthearted through a lot of it, and there is funny moments, but it's different. And I think that this is something that I need to point out. So in a lot of comedy anime that are labeled comedy, it's often really stupid things, like a guy will walk in on a girl changing, she screams, punches him, and he flies away. Okay, stuff like that. It's kind of just dumb comedy, and so it's never been anything I've ever been super excited about. I've always disliked it. So anyway, and so I can often tolerate it if there's other things to care about, but a lot of the time I'm just like, ugh, and I just ignore it because I'm just not excited at all. But this anime is on a far rarer trend, where it might be labeled comedy, but it's because the dialogue is witty and it's funny. And it's funny, but it's not dumb, like slapstick-esque stupid comedy. It is the dialogue is just, it's witty and funny, and it makes you smile and it makes you laugh and stuff. So it is comedy, but not of the dumb stupid variety, which is the type that I don't like. So that's pretty exciting. So season length, how long is the season and everything else? It is one season at 13 episodes. The episode length is exactly what you would expect at about 24 minutes. There is nothing after the ending song, so it's only a preview to the next episode, if memory serves. Now, you're more than welcome to double check me. In fact, I would encourage you to do so in every time I say that, but I'm pretty sure, because I've already started my next anime, so I often get them confused, but I'm pretty sure there is nothing after it. So once the ending song hits, you're more than welcome to take off if you would so choose. Now, I completely lost my train of thought. So obviously, the sequel to this, and it's a direct sequel, is a movie. And so the movie is an hour and a half. For the actual movie, it is an hour and a half, and I don't remember. I think there is something after the ending song in the movie. So I think it's kind of, again, hard to remember. I've already started on the next set, so kind of hard to keep it all, keep track of it all, I should say. But anyway, so the movie was an hour and a half. It's a pretty super standard movie length, and it was really, really good. So, yeah, so exactly what you'd expect. So, moving on to our character list. Now, the character list is I don't want to say extensive because it's really not. It's a pretty normal cast of characters. There is two main characters. We are gonna touch on a couple of side characters very briefly. A couple of ones that are very prevalent, but we're not gonna touch too heavily on them. Yeah, we're not gonna touch too heavily on them. So anyway. So the other thing that I'm gonna mention is there is one character that is like really fleshed out in the movie that is far more supportive in the anime. It's really complicated. You're gonna have to watch it, but you really should not watch the movie without watching the anime because it's a direct sequel and it would make no sense without it. Because the movie 100% assumes that you have seen the anime, because if you haven't, you'll have no idea what's going on. We're not really going to touch too heavily on the movie because you should have watched the anime first, so the review is going to be on the anime, and I'm going to touch on a few points of the movie, but not too much. But anyway, so moving on to our character list. Our first main character, alpha main character, whatever, is of course Sakuta. Sakuta is of course our main male character. Let me open a bigger picture of him so I can describe him. So Sakuta, he's a really interesting character, honestly. He has I don't know what color that is, brown, brownish, shorter hair, and he's very just kind of deadpan, but Sakuta is a very interesting character. Because there's a lot about him that is really likable, at least for me. Sakuta in personality, he's the outcast of his school. But unlike a lot of other characters in other animes, he's okay with that. He doesn't have this crazy desire to be super popular. So it's not something that he's overly concerned about. He's an outcast, but he's okay with that. He has a couple of really good friends, and as the anime develops, he makes a couple of other really good friends. But his circle is pretty small, and he's okay with that. And it was nice to see someone with kind of a relatable scenario, where he didn't desire to fit in all that badly. If you liked him, great. If not, it really didn't mean anything to him. He's very very different than your average modern character, because he doesn't own a cell phone, for instance. And obviously he doesn't own a cell phone, and he's completely uninterested in owning one. Obviously pretty stinking rare in today's day and age. And so that's very, very different. And then as a character, he's ultimately just a really good guy. But not like a Boy Scout good guy. He's just he feels very normal. He feels very down to earth, and because of his kind of, I don't know what the word is, very dry, very, very dry dialogue, and even if something big and scary is happening, he often is very calm. There's a couple of things that he really freaks out because it's a really, very intense moment. So of course you can't be, so it makes sense. But for the most part, he remains pretty stinking calm. He is very loyal to his pretty small group of friends, and that's kind of all he needs. Now this disease that's called puberty syndrome it's really trippy. It's this crazy, elusive disease, and it plagues him and his immediate family, and then people he comes to know, and then people he already does, and it's like the driving point of the anime is dealing with this puberty syndrome. Now, so a quick little side tangent. So to describe what puberty syndrome is, the synopsis touched on it, but I'll give you a basic idea. So basically, puberty syndrome is, I'm trying to think. So there's a lot of trippy science in this anime. There's a lot of science. It's a lot of mystery and trying to scientifically figure out all of this weird disease. This disease affects people in very different ways. As an example, let's see. I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to think of which one I could say that's not going to be like a spoiler. So this is not going to be a very great description, but it's not anyone specific, so it's not a spoiler, but it's just an example. So basically, oh no, I've completely lost. I had an example in my head very briefly. Okay, so basically, if let's say if a group of people believe something, then it kind of comes true. Or even if one person believes really strongly, it comes true. Like, let's see. If you had very different parts of you, like if you had two very conflicting desires, if you really wanted one thing, but at the same time you really didn't want it, well, then you might split into very literal two people. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's this really weird disease, and so it has all these crazy symptoms. It affects people very differently depending on what is plaguing you, what your trouble is. It's basically like a crazy big manifestation of your own fears and your own worries and your own stuff like that. Your own anxieties. It's like a very, very physical and real manifestation of it, life-threatening, possibly. And so it's this really trippy disease. But the whole anime was it's a really good time. It's a part of a mystery because you're trying to figure out this disease, and at the same time you really care about the characters as they do the same thing, and then there's romance, and it's really, really good. So Sakuta basically is integral. He's very important to the overall like chasing of this disease, because he's helping all of these people deal with this disease, and he's dealing with it himself. And so this whole time you're also in the dark about it, and you're figuring things out at the same time that everyone else is. And so it was really, really fun. So Sakuta was very likable because he's very dry, but he's still a good person. He has a great little circle of friends, and he's very loyal to them. But he didn't have this crazy desire to be known by everybody. You know what I mean? He was okay with getting in, like, you know, defending people who he cared about again, and he wasn't afraid to step on toes to do it. And he was very approachable and a very likable character in the season and in the anime. So him and Mai, which is our next main character coming up, they are our love interests for this show. They are our driving couple. That is a mouthful. And so it's funny because Sakuta will just tell Mai straight up how he feels, what he wants, and so it was really fun because the whole time Mai and Sakuta had this really adorable relationship of like him always like chasing after her and pining for her, but in like a normal, relatable way, and then Mai like playfully denying him about like wanting a kiss or whatever, you know what I mean, stuff like that. It was very cute, it was very refreshing, and it honestly reminds me a lot of people I know in real life in some ways, and so it was a really, really good time. And so that's basically Sakuta. He's really cool. He felt very different, and that was awesome. So moving on to our next and final main character, we have Mai Sakurajima. If you'll notice, I didn't say Sakuta's last name because it's hard to pronounce with my stutter. Anyway, so Mai. Mai is our other main character. So Mai is very, very different, obviously, from Sakuta. Mai is known by everybody. She was very popular as a child actress, and she was in a lot, and so she has a lot going on. She is also, just like Sakuta is, affected very personally by this puberty syndrome. So I'm not going to spoil how it affects her, so I recommend you check out the anime to understand that. But don't worry, the whole bunny costume thing, there is a reason, all right? Even that is explained, okay? So if you're thinking like that was just literally thrown in for fan service, although maybe partially true, they found a plot reason, you know, meme aside, they found a plot reason to explain it, and so fear not, they have an excuse and a reason for it. But anyway, so Sakurajima is well known by everybody, also affected by the same disease, and she's also very likable. She's very adorable. She is very, very pretty. I'll say that too. That the whole time I'm just like, oh my, you're so pretty. But Mai is also a very likable character. That in Mai and Sakuta's relationship, she doesn't often she doesn't really chase after him or like playfully like try and kiss him or whatever. She doesn't really do that very much. like, or she doesn't like chase him in earnest. She like playfully denies him, or playfully will pretend to start to kiss him and then end up just whatever pinching him or something. Like her in his relationship was very cute, and she gets like she seems very very confident, and most of the time she is. She's a very confident person, and she's very very chill, and she's used to being in the spotlight because of course she's an actress, and she's in a lot of modeling and a lot of other stuff, and so she's used to being looked at, and she's used to being in the public eye and stuff, and so she's very very used to that. So when things were getting really, so there was a few times when Sakuta would like get her to tell him that she loves him or whatever, and she would get all shy, and it was incredibly adorable, and she was very 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 likable character. So really quick to give you a clue what she looks like. So she has, I don't even know what that is, purple. She has like this kind of darker purple hair, kind of. Anyway, so she has long hair. She has like this little like bunny pin in her hair, kind of, and she's pretty much she's a more serious person. She's very serious. She's very polite, and which makes sense, right? Because if you're this actress, you're used to being in the public eye. So she has this very calm, serious demeanor about her. But not, and you can see why everyone labels her as unapproachable, because when you first see her, before you get to know her very well, you can totally see why she's labeled as unapproachable. But then once you know her, then you love her way more. And she also felt very down to earth and normal, very 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 relatable, and it was, yeah. And so her and Sakuta are adorable together, and they complete each other in very different ways, and that was a good time. So in the movie, it is Sakuta and Mai both are the same pretty much. There's a lot of plot in that one that's even heavier, way heavier than what is in the anime. But it, yeah, and so, but ultimately they are the same person and stuff. I mean, they're the same people. They're not wildly different or anything. Anyway, sorry, I had to take a drink. So anyway, and that's basically Mai. So that's our main characters. So there's a couple of little side characters. If I'm able to find like a group picture, you'll probably would have seen them. So I'll probably just drop you a quick line. So there's one character named Tomoe. I don't know if I'll get a picture of her. I'm not gonna probably put any special effort into finding pictures of these other people. But if I happen to find one or whatever, I'll drop you a line. So Tomoe is an underclassman. She's an underclassman of Sakuta. She's cute. Short hair. She was sort of a shrug character. I was pretty neutral on her. There is Kaede, I think. Kaede. It's Kaede. So it's like Kaede, maybe something like that. She is Sakuta's little sister. She's a pretty big part, especially of the last maybe half of season 1. But she's definitely a supporting character for sure. But she's often wearing a little panda like onesie type of thing. So she might be wearing that if I can find a picture of her, or she might be wearing her school uniform. I don't know. Anyway, so she was a fine character, again, pretty neutral. But then the final character that I wanted to mention, because she is one of my favorites. So then we have Ryo Futaba. So Futaba is she wears glasses. She has a lab coat, and so she is the only member of the science club at school, and she is a very deadpan person. Again, the dialogue in this anime is very very witty, and so she has her own funny sense of humor, kinda, but she's very very dry. She's very scientifical, and her and Sakuta are friends, and she is always the one that Sakuta runs to when all of this crap is developing with this crazy syndrome, and so her and him are often the two that are really figuring it out. And so she was one of my favorite characters in the anime because A, she's freaking adorable and I love her. And so, but B, because she was just really likable. Once you get to know her she has more going on underneath than you would think. And once you get to know that, especially, then she's, twice as likable as she was before, and I really liked her. So we're not going to touch too much on her. She's a supporting character, but suffice it to say, she was one of mine. I really liked her. So anyway, it was a yeah, and so she's cute. It was cool seeing Sakuta have like this like confidant that he can turn to, someone who was she's very, very smart, and so she was always trying to like really scientifically figure out this like really weird elusive disease that is like borderline untrackable. And so she was always trying to figure it out with him, and so seeing someone that was super level-headed try and figure this stuff out was super cool. And that's basically our character list. So there is more people, but the rest of them you'll get introduced to them. They're all supporting characters. Yeah, you know, it was fine. It was whatever. So moving on to our favorite / most hated characters. So I didn't really have any characters that I hated. But for favorites, I would say Mai Sakurajima, and I would say Ryo Futaba. I loved Mai and Futaba because they were awesome. I really liked them. Mai was like visually, she seems similar to, of course, my favorite anime girl, Psycho, from High School of the Dead. But more than that, even though that like my archetype or my whatever you would call it is like, you know, the long purple hair. For some reason, I get a giant kick out of it. I don't know why. But anyway, even if it's more on a visual level, even besides that, as a character, I liked Mai, that she was relatable, and she still had that serious demeanor, but the way that she was teasing Sakuta all the time was adorable, and I loved their relationship. And again, it reminded me of people I know in real life, and maybe that was part of the reason, but they were really likable, so I really liked Mai. And of course, I really loved Futaba. I mean, her first name is Ryo, but everyone calls her Futaba, so it feels weird to call her Ryo. But anyway, Futaba, I really liked her because, again, she was also very serious, but she had her own she had her own way about her, and she was very, very cool. It was really awesome seeing Sakuta have this confidant, and I really liked her. And that's pretty much it. I didn't really have any most hated. I wasn't a giant fan of Tomoe Koga, that underclassman that I mentioned. I'm not against her. I was just sort of shrug. I didn't super care. But you know, and then there's one character in the movie who I'm pretty neutral about her, but it's like I'm like super neutral, like neutral to the point that I don't dislike her, but I just really don't. She was off. Sometimes she felt like she was in the way, but anyway, we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, so there's not really any most hated, but there was a lot of people I really liked. So moving on to animation and music, this anime is very well animated. It is very, very pretty to look at. It's not the prettiest anime I've ever seen. Like it's not like I'm not gonna put it in my top 3 like most beautiful jaw-dropping anime like for animation, but it was very well animated. It definitely, yeah, it was one of its strong points was how pretty it was, and how well especially the characters themselves were animated very, very well, and like you could read body language, and it was just they were very well made, and they were awesome, and it's definitely a strong point of this one. The music is fine. It's just neutral. There wasn't any crazy orchestral pieces or anything, and so, you know, music is not one of this anime's strong points. The opening and closing songs were cool. They were fine. They did capture, you know, the anime really well. I really liked the opening of this one. The opening was very, very cool, and yeah, I really liked the opening, and they both, you know, they did their job, and what more could you ask other than that? And so obviously the next section technically is final rating and recommendation, but you know, this anime's strong suit one of its biggest strong suits is the dialogue. The dialogue is very witty and very sharp, and that was a standout piece of it. Is how it felt very different than other dialogue in other animes sometimes feels. It was enough so that it was very, very funny at times. It was very funny, but it was interesting, and it was cool having to keep up with like the science and trying to figure out the mysteries behind, like the mystery aspect of this disease was a lot of fun to try and like chase this down and stuff. And it was really, really good. So before we actually legit hit the final rating and recommendation, just to quickly touch on the movie. So the movie was released in 2019. I do know that. I forget the actual date. But it was released, whatever, 6 months later, 8 months later, whatever it was. And it is a direct sequel. It will not make any sense unless you see the anime. So if you start the movie, immediately turn it off, go watch the anime, and then go watch the movie. And so it was very, very different. I will say the movie was far heavier than the anime was. The anime had lots of heavy moments, but there was more balance, whereas the movie had some big issues to tackle. I don't think that's any kind of like fail in writing or anything related. It just that it's not the movie's fault that there was big issues to take care of and they had to do it. And it had a really great ending. The anime did, and the movie both had great endings. And so if you're worried about that, don't be. And the movie, it could have been more episodes of the anime. I mean, if that makes sense. Like, the animation felt exactly the same. The everything about it was the same. The dialogue, the characters, everything was exactly the same. And so if you've seen the anime and you liked it, watch the movie. It is a direct sequel. It is the wrapping up of the story, and it's great. And it's just as good as the anime was. And that's basically it. So let's actually legit hop into our final rating and recommendation. I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 5. One of my favorites. This anime is one of my favorites, and I love it. So yeah, this is a prime case of never judging a book by its cover. Because I saw the initial art of Mai in the Bunny Girl outfit. My first thought was, oh, it's going to be shallow. But she was so pretty on the cover that I'm like, but I'll give it a try anyway. And so I watched it because she was really pretty. And honestly, that's what dragged me into it, because she's hot. And so that's initially what did it. But then I read the synopsis. And it sounded like had a lot going for it. Even besides, Mai being hot. Even besides that, the synopsis really it grabbed me. It sounded really interesting, and then I started it, and I was quickly proven wrong I was reminded as to why you don't judge something based upon what it looks like, because often even often a synopsis doesn't do an anime justice. There's a lot of anime that I read the synopsis and I was like, it doesn't sound like something I'm interested in quite yet, and so then I kept looking, and then I would go back months or years later, and I would watch that anime and realize, hey, look, this anime is freaking amazing. The synopsis did not do it justice of how great it is, or the art doesn't do it justice how great it is. And so I'm like, man, why didn't I watch this like months or years ago or whatever? And so it's a primary case that if you're even remotely interested by something that you see or something that you read, go watch it, because it's a bad habit of mine of reading a synopsis and then you'd be like, yeah, and then I keep scrolling. Whereas really, I should read a synopsis, look at the whatever, the cover or whatever, and then if I even am remotely interested, then I should just start it, because when I start looking too deeply, then I'll end up scrolling and looking for an anime forever when there's nothing but options. So if you just figured it out, if you just jumped into it and thought less and acted more, it would be a lot easier. And and so it was just So anyway, this anime was a great time. I recommend it. If you watched Kokoro Connect, if you watched that, you should watch this. I was getting similar vibes in a lot of ways, and it was a lot of fun. This anime was really, really well made, and the movie was just as good. The movie was heavier, like I said, but everything about it's the same. I'd give it the same rating as far as cleanliness goes. And of course, the movie has the exact same score as the anime does, also a 6 out of 5, and the endings for both are very, very good, and the movie is also good. The anime is great. This one, it was awesome, and I absolutely recommend it. Don't let the cover art or anything that you see or read fool you. This anime is deep, and it's intricate, and it was a lot of fun. Everything about it was really well made, so I am a fan. Anyway, so I have already started my next anime. The anime I'm watching now, it's a doozy. It is just, it is. It's a doozy. So obviously we will get into it once I finish it, which will be a little while, because it's like 24 or 25 episodes, something like that. So it'll be a little bit before I can actually get a review on that one, but we'll get to it when we get there. But it's an intense one, so brace yourself. Anyway, so hopefully it ends well as well, but we'll see. Anyway, and that's it, man. So I will be recording Skyrim right after this. We actually have some exciting stuff to cover in Skyrim this episode, and if you are at all interested in that, I absolutely recommend it, because we have some pretty exciting things to cover in that episode. So I hope you guys are ready. And yeah, so lots of good stuff this time around. And I think that's just about everything. Anyway, that is going to call it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.